What is up, Dynasty Leaguers? Welcome into another episode of Drafting Lessons, the DLF TV show, where I grab a guest every single week and we mock a Dynasty startup or Dynasty rookie mock drafts. Today, I brought on a guest for another second time here. We're going to do some more rookie mocks now that it's post-draft, but I brought on the great Ray GQ, Hotcakes and Henny himself, Ray Garvin. Ray, how's it going, my man?
Man, I'm blessed, man. Doing well. It's a beautiful day, beautiful Sunday. Draft is over. We got landing spots. So excited to be back, Addison, and hopefully provide some good content for the people checking out the show.
Yeah, for real. And I'm excited because I went into the mock draft simulator today here on Fantasy Pros and just noticed up until this point they hadn't allowed for an option to do like SUPERFLEX or anything like quirky with roster settings like they do for regular startups, but we have it today. So I'm thinking we're just going to do 2 4-round SUPERFLEX rookie mocks. It's going to be the first time in this drafting lessons series where we're going to be doing some SUPERFLEX rookie conversations now. So if you're down for it, I think it's going to be really fun.
Yeah, man. Let's get it, man. SUPERFLEX. That's what we're all playing, man. Who plays in one quarterback leagues anymore? SUPERFLEX. Let's go.
Let's do it. Let's do it. So, you know, you've been here before. You know how this thing goes. We're going to do the first one out of the 1.02 and the second one out of the 1.08. So, I got this one queued up here, 1.02, 4-round SUPERFLEX. And hit the start your draft button. We're going to be on the clock. Alrighty, Ray. We're on the clock, 1.02. This time, this isn't so for the people watching, just to give you a little insight here into what we just did. So we recorded this already. This is actually our second time doing this, and for some reason, the recording output did not have the whole this whole screen. So this is the second time doing this. The second time we're doing this out of the 1.02, and in the first draft, Joe Burrow was the first overall pick. Yep. And now it's interesting because in this one, Tua is the first overall pick. So now we have an interesting conversation here, Ray, for you. We got the decision between Joe Burrow, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and Jonathan Taylor, I think, would be the 3 players that you're deciding between. So 1.02, who are we taking here?
Well, Tua is my #1 ranked quarterback in the 2020 class. So to see him go 101, that makes me proud. That makes me happy. The simulator got it right. But, you know, and I just want to preface this by saying I believe the decisions that have to be made at 101 and 102 in SUPERFLEX formats are as open or are as, I don't want to say confusing, but of any year to not have the 101, I think like this is the best year to have it and also the worst year to have it because I don't want to make that pick at 101. Because at 102, I'm not going to go quarterback. I'm going to pivot. And I know Ryan McDowell talked about this on the Dynasty Blueprint not too long ago. But kind of, you know, this year, the running backs hit so many good landing spots that I think there's a very, very real argument to forego quarterback. And that's what I'm going to do right here. And I'm going to take my #1 ranked running back in this class based off of landing spot, the talent, the opportunity, and the format PPR, and I'm going to go with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, running back for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty solid pick, and I mean, there's not, you know, like there's not a wrong direction I think you can go at the top of these first-round picks here. So we're not really going to spend a whole lot of time talking about Clyde Edwards-Helaire specifically. I know a lot of people have maybe Jonathan Taylor ahead of him, and I think that's fine as well too. I think you would agree on that. As well. And I mean, you really can't go wrong there. The decision for you guys is really going to come down to, do you need that quarterback or not? I'm assuming. And so, Ray, if you were a quarterback needy team, maybe not so much you needed the running backs or whatever, would you be looking at Burrow or Tua then?
Yeah, absolutely, if you need the quarterback, and I think there's still cases where the best piece of advice that I can give you guys who are drafting 101 to 1-3 are know your league mates, know your league settings, because if quarterback is valued very, very high, if you took a Burrow or Tua, you might be able to flip them for a lot more than just trading the pick outright. But if I were a QB needy team, then absolutely quarterback would be the way to go. And I don't think there's any wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4, you can't get it wrong. Like, you really can't screw it up. It's going to be league dependent, roster construction dependent. So, yeah, we don't need to spend a lot of time on those guys. I think they're all studs.
Absolutely. So the real interesting stuff is now we get into the top of the second round here. We're on the clock at the 2.02. The rest of the first round went Burrow, Taylor, Swift, Dobbins, Judy, Herbert, Love, Lamb, Higgins, Akers, and then Jalen Reagor at the 2.01. So at the 2.02 here, we got, a bunch of these wide receivers: Justin Jefferson, Henry Ruggs, Denzel Mims, Michael Pittman, Laviska Shenault, Brandon Ayuk, and then Keyshawn Vaughn and Zach Moss would be the top 2 running backs, and A.J. Dillon as well here too, according to these rankings. So 2.02, who are we looking to pair with Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
Yeah,
Ryan, did you catch that?
Yeah, I'm a little heated because my guy went right here, right before this pick, Reagor, and let me just say, Cam Akers at 112 is an absolute steal. But right here at 202, since it's the second time doing this, and I know what my team looked like the first time doing it, I'm going to pivot, and I'm going to take my number 3 ranked wide receiver in this class, Justin Jefferson. Love the landing spot. I think he's got a chance to be the number 1 sooner rather than later. So I'm taking Justin Jefferson over Keyshawn Vaughn.
That's interesting. I kind of thought that you would have went Keyshawn Vaughn again, just because you did that, like you said, last draft too. So Justin Jefferson there. So this is a player that I have yet to talk about with anybody post-draft, at least. So he lands with the Minnesota Vikings at 22 overall. A lot of people expected him, myself included, to go to Philly at 21. They instead go Reagor, and Jefferson goes to the Vikings 1 pick later. So really interesting a pick, I think, specifically when we think of, team and player situation. They traded Stephon Diggs away to the Buffalo Bills. So there's, that hole there across from Adam Thielen for a wide receiver to slide in. And there's not, any other wide receivers on that depth chart that would really compete with Jefferson for that spot. You think of like Olabisi Johnson and, Laquan Treadwell or whoever it is. Like none of these guys are doing anything. So Jefferson slides in immediately as the wide receiver 2 on that team. I think the only downside for me is that team does not want to pass the ball as much as some of the other teams. I think the volume might not be there, but Jefferson offers an extremely high ceiling like Diggs did last year. And, that's one of the reasons why I like him a lot. Is that kind of similar to what you're seeing there with Justin Jefferson? And also, whenever you pass on a guy like Henry Ruggs or maybe a Michael Pittman or something like that, at this pick.
Yeah, I think everything that you just said is accurate. First and foremost, I don't think that they are going to be some high-flying, air-it-out offense, but they've got to pass the ball to somebody. And Stephon Diggs, those vacated targets, is Kyle Rudolph still with them, or did he go somewhere else? He's still there?
No. Yep.
So you still got Kyle Rudolph, but, he's not – Irv Smith, we're hoping that he takes that step forward. But Justin Jefferson's sliding into that role, and Adam Thielen's going to be 30 before the NFL season kicks off. He's got a birthday in August, and he's been, he hasn't been the model of health lately either. So I do think that Jefferson's walking into significant opportunity. He has the draft capital. He is talented, and he brings a skill set that really fits with what Kirk Cousins likes to do. And I think, we're talking about him sliding into that wide receiver 2 role. I think before the end of the season, we'll start to see him emerge as the go-to option for Kirk Cousins and the Vikings.
Yeah. I like the pick a lot, and I loved Justin Jefferson pre-draft. So I think of the early second-round pick, I think that's a fantastic place to get Justin Jefferson there. So 3.02 now. The rest of the second round went Ruggs, Mims, Moss, Keyshawn Vaughn, Michael Pittman, Ayuk, A.J. Dillon, Bryan Edwards, Laviska, and Antonio Gibson. And then Van Jefferson went 3.01. So 3.02, we have some decisions here: Chase Claypool, KJ Hamler, Anthony McFarland, Darrington Evans, Cole Kmet, Devin Duvernay, Tyler Johnson, Antonio Gandy Golden. Based on having already recorded this previously, I think I know who you're taking here. But go ahead and hit us with your 3.02 pick.
Yes. Let's go ahead. We're going to dive into the running back pool again. and we are going to get the explosive, dynamic playmaker out of the University of Maryland and now on the Pittsburgh Steelers, Anthony McFarland. Love the landing spot for this kid. Sub 4.5 40-yard dash. He's explosive. He's fast. He's a little bit undersized. But he reminds me, and I'm not saying this is a full-on comp, but of a D'Angelo Williams type running back for the Steelers. James Conner can't stay healthy. Benny Snell is not very good, and Jalen Samuels is not a running back. So I think Anthony McFarland has the chance to step into the RB2 role. And when James Conner goes down, you know, he's stepping into significant touches and carries. And I'm not out here wishing injuries on any player, but that's just the reality of the game that we play. Connor is yet to stay healthy, and Pittsburgh wants to get back to running the ball. So I think Anthony McFarland brings something different to that team, and I think he's going to command some opportunity in year one. And if not in year one, in the third round, year two, I could see McFarland really taking off. So really happy to get him right here at the 302.
McFarland. So I'm a Steelers fan, for anybody who doesn't know. McFarland to me was a really interesting pick. I know you and I had a kind of debate there pre-draft on whether or not the Steelers were going to invest in a running back higher than Anthony McFarland. You know, a lot of people had them potentially taking Jonathan Taylor in the second round, you know, other top end running backs like that. And as a Steelers fan myself, I am very happy that we did not go that route because I think that's really, really a need. But McFarland is interesting, and it's also really interesting because he was our fourth round pick, 124 overall, and Benny Snell last year was our fourth round pick, I think 122 overall. Like they were like neck and neck in terms of where they were both taken. So the draft capital debate is kind of out of the question in terms of who's going to be the RB2 behind James Conner, and it's not going to be Jalen Samuels. We know he's not a runner. The Steelers know that he's not a running back. He's a pass-catching back. That is all he's ever going to be, nothing more. So McFarland to me is really interesting because I don't think Benny Snell was all too terrible last year. He had a few good games and to spell James Conner whenever he was hurt. But McFarland comes in here, and again, also because I'm Penn State, Big Ten, Maryland, I know McFarland pretty well as well here too. So I don't know. I have a lot of questions in terms of how that backfield is going to work. Man, I really want to say if James Conner gets hurt, but I know it's when, and that really hurts to say that. But it's going to be really interesting to see what the split is between Snell and McFarland. And I'm assuming that Conner is gone after this year as well too. We're not going to extend him. So again, looking at 2021, is it going to be Snell or is it going to be McFarland? And you know, I think a lot of people are going to think it's actually Anthony McFarland. And I don't think that's inaccurate.
Well, and I don't think that you want him necessarily being the lead, right? I think he's a good complementary back. He does something. He's the polar opposite of Benny Snell. Benny Snell is a slow grinder. Anthony McFarland is an explosive, not so much grinder. And I was just looking up Benny Snell's stats. I mean, he had 108 carries last year as a rookie, and we were talking on the prior episode that didn't work, but Austin Eckler, what did he have? 130 carries last year? Yep. Listen, I just think there's opportunity in that backfield. So whichever running back not named James Conner or Jalen Samuels that you invest in, whether that's Snell or McFarland, they're well worth the shot, the gamble.
Yeah. And at the third round, you know, you're not losing all too much.
Yeah.
Here. So definitely a shot that I'm willing to take in the third round as a potential upside feature running back, I think, in a very running back friendly offense as well too. That's another big part of it too. So 4.02, last pick of this draft here. The rest of the third round went Darrington Evans, Claypool, Tyler Johnson, Joshua Kelly, Cole Kmet, Antonio Gandy Golden, KJ Hamler, Eno Benjamin, Lynn Bowden, and DJ Dallas, and then Devin Duvernay at the 4.01. So 4.02 here, we're looking at Jalen Hurts and Jacob Eason are the two quarterbacks. Adam Troutman and Albert O are down here at the tight end position. LaMichael Pirine, Jake Fromm is also there. Donovan Peoples-Jones, Quintez Cephas, the Bryants. There's a lot of directions that we can go here for the 4.02. So to close this one out, what are we looking at?
Let's go. Let's go. I want to get my quarterback of the future. And it would be Jalen Hurts if he landed in another situation outside of Philadelphia. I'm going to go with all the reasons that I said before, Addison. I gave a beautiful blame Addison on the beautiful soliloquy that will not be included in this episode about Jacob Eason and why I would be willing to gamble on Jacob Eason in the fourth. I'll give you the short end of it. Phillip Rivers is old and he stinks, and they have a good offensive line, young wide receiver, young running back. If Eason is going to be anything, he landed in a very good spot to show that talent, because I don't think the Colts have any loyalty or allegiance to Phillip Rivers. So if he goes out there and airmails it and chunking pick sixes left and right, they'll have every reason in the world to see if Eason is the quarterback of the future, or if they need to start planning for a Trevor Lawrence, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Brock Purdy in 2021. Give me the offensive line. Give me Jonathan Taylor. Give me Michael Pittman Jr. and T.Y. Hilton. Give me Jacob Eason.
So the Jacob Eason bit was actually part of the video that was okay.
Oh, God.
So what I'm going to do to spare the conversation right now, I'm actually going to just cut that up, and I'm going to put it right here.
I thought I did a good job, though, man.
No, you did a good job, but I think it's going to. We had a fantastic conversation about Jacob Eason, I think, last time. So I'm gonna after right here, I'm gonna put in the Jacob Eason conversation that we had from the last go around of this, and it's gonna go into much more in depth onto why you love Jacob Eason and actually why you kind of made me think a little bit harder about Jacob Eason, and especially in like the third round, earlier than the fourth round.
Gotcha.
So. My big question to you is, so I've seen a lot of people really liking Jacob Eason, right, as this late round flyer in Superflex, as the potential heir to the Indianapolis Colts, if Phillip Rivers only plays a season or whatever and then moves on or what have you with that situation. A lot of people are really in on Jacob Eason. Is he a guy that you would be targeting there? I know you said that you would have taken him at the 4.08 here had he been there, but what's the earliest that you'd be looking at Jacob Eason?
Yeah, realistically, because quarterback scarcity is, that's a fear of mine in Superflex formats, is rolling into 1 week and not having quarterbacks to play. I mean, he's in a spot where I think he's going to play this year. I mean, Phillip Rivers is done. He's done. I don't think he's very good anymore. YOLO ball city. They drafted a young wide receiver, a young running back. I think before the end of the season, we're going to see Jacob Eason on the field. I think they're going to want to know going into 2021 I don't think anybody is expecting the Indianapolis Colts to be really, really good this year. So I think management, they're a smart organization, a smart franchise. I think they're going to want to know, is this guy potentially somebody we can build around? Or do we need to start looking at a Trevor Lawrence, looking at a Justin Fields or a Brock Purdy or a Trey Lance? So I think before it's all said and done, and what loyalty does Indy have to Phillip Rivers? I can see why, the Chargers didn't want to pull the plug on him. He's been there his entire career, but he's on a 1-year deal in Indy. If he stinks it up and is throwing 4 or 5 picks, I think Frank Wright pulls him, puts in the younger kid towards the end of the season, and we actually get to see what he has. The third round, into the second, maybe, depending on how desperate I am at the quarterback position. But into the second, top or mid-third is where Eason probably should be coming off the board.
And Eason's the one with the rocket arm, right?
He's probably got the strongest. Jordan Love's got a rocket arm too, but there's no way in hell I'm taking him at 109, especially when you can get Jacob Eason behind that offensive line with a stud running back and with a young wide receiver. I mean, it's set up for him. It's set up. They've got a very good line. They invested high draft capital in receiver and running back. He's going to play this year. Mark my word, Jacob Eason is going to play this year.
Interesting. So I have to maybe take a look at Eason again for some of my Superflex rookie mocks.
What's the harm in the third, right? So instead of Josh Kelly, if we would have taken Jacob Eason and then I still ended up with DJ Dallas, I probably like that draft a little bit more because I've got an upside quarterback. There was no way I was taking Jake Fromm there at the 408. So looking at this again, maybe Eason was the play at 308, and then I still get that same mold of a running back in the 4th. So absolutely, man. And all you need him to do is step on the field, and he's got value right away. You know what I mean? You could, even if you weren't the biggest fan, flip him, trade him. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And that return on investment, a 3rd round pick into, you know, some sort of a starting quarterback type, you know, return.
Minshew. Look at Minshew. People were fetching first for Minshew. Like he was a what, 6th, 7th round pick? Yeah, I think Eason is in a really good. He's in a good spot to succeed if that's what he's going to be. If he's going to be anything in the league, he's in a very good spot to make that happen.
57 quarterbacks played last year. And that included Mason Rudolph and Devlin Hodges. I think that, and Kyle Allen, and you know, we can go down the list of all these horrible quarterbacks as well too. So, if you're scared about that quarterback scarcity, that we know, that we feel like is probably going to be coming every year, at least 40 plus quarterbacks have at least one quarterback 1 week. Jacob Eason could be that guy. So, you know, I think you've convinced me a little bit to at least look at him a lot more than what I've had prior to that, because I wasn't sure where he would stand in terms of that Colts offense, because I think they are kind of in this win now mode, but they're also still very young, that they could be looking towards the future, and they kind of have an option here depending on what Phillip Rivers does. And by like week 8, 9, 10, they might be leaning one way or another to go really hard in on Phillip Rivers if he's still performing all right, or they might go really hard in on Jacob Eason and see what they got for the future if they need to invest further draft capital down the road in a quarterback, or not if they have their guy.
They ain't winning now, so they need to get that out of their heads. There is no win now for Indianapolis. That ain't happening. Sorry, Colts fans. It's not happening. But and here's the thing, and I'm not trying to turn this into an Eason love fest, but he was like the number 5 rated player in the nation when coming out of high school. Like, he's a talented thrower of the football, right? So all you can ask for is opportunity, and he's probably going to get that. I know Jacoby Brissett's there, but he will not be back. I can assure you of that. So why not take a shot on Eason, mid-3rd, late 2nd?
I love it. All righty, so that was the end of the first set of the 4-round rookie mock SUPERFLEX. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Justin Jefferson, Anthony McFarland, and Jacob Eason here. That was a pretty solid draft. I like it a lot, and I think it was actually pretty different than the one that we had the first time. So next one here out of the 8 spot, 1.08, another one 4-round. We're just going to kick off, go right into it here and see where we're at. Draft wizard. All right. 1.08, the top 7 picks were Joe Burrow, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Tua, J.K. Dobbins, Jonathan Taylor at the 105, which is crazy, DeAndre Swift, and Justin Herbert. So 1.08, we're looking a lot like we did last draft, right?
Yeah,
looking a lot like we did. So we have a decision here between basically any of the wide receivers, the top tier, Lamb, Judy, or Rager, and then also the decision now between Cam Akers or any one of those other wide receivers. So I'm going to leave it to you. I know who you're going to pick, but I'm going to leave it to you to tell us who that is.
Yeah, if you're sitting at the 108 and one of the big 5 running backs are still available, and maybe even depending on your league settings, Keyshawn Vaughn is a big 6, but I think it's an auto smash. Cam Akers with the Los Angeles Rams, their very first pick of the 2020 draft, they used it to invest in Cam Akers. They didn't do that because, it's a luxury pick, whatever. They did it because they don't believe they've got the guy already on their roster. Cam Akers is a phenomenal running back talent with a versatile skill set. He's a fantastic pass blocker, so he'll be able to help Jared Goff in that offense in that regard. And he's a more talented runner than the people that they have on their roster currently. And he may even be more talented than what Todd Gurley is right now. And as much as we crap on the Rams offensive line and how bad they are, wasn't Todd Gurley still an RB2 in fantasy, a high-end RB2?
Yeah. So Todd Gurley was the RB14 last year with 223 carries and then an additional 49 targets. I mean, he got the RB14 based on 14 total touchdowns. He wasn't all that efficient on the ground, but that kind of volume, yeah, that's the kind of volume I think Cam Akers can slide right into.
Yeah, and even if it's not as much in year one, he's going to touch the ball. He's going to be involved in that offense. And, you know, running backs in Dynasty accrue value much faster than a wide receiver does. So even if you're not the biggest Cam Akers enthusiast, you get the running back. He's very young, very talented. If you wanted to flip him, I guarantee you can get a player plus for Cam Akers. So it's an auto draft for me at the 108.
Not to mention, I mean, a lot of people have issues with the Rams' offensive line. You know, as another factor being on top of why Todd Gurley wasn't all that efficient last year, you know, with his injuries. But also that line is horrible.
Yeah.
But the positive, Cam Akers played with arguably the worst offensive line in college football last year at Florida State. So he's used to it, and he produced at a pretty elite level. Still in the pretty high level for college football as well too. So translating that to the NFL, he's pretty used to making people miss, getting yards after contact, doing all that stuff. And if he slides into a 200+ carry role with an additional possibility of 35, 40 receptions as that team's RB1, like you said, they went and got him because they don't believe in Darrell Henderson. He wasn't all that great last year. Whenever he spelled Todd Gurley, I think he's going to have a similar role to Cam Akers' new Todd Gurley role. So I think that's a pretty easy pick for me, as well as it was for you too there at 1.08. Not really much more to say.
Yeah. Akers is good. I'm not concerned.
2.08 here. The last 4 picks were CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, Justin Jefferson, and then Jalen Hurts. I don't know what it is about these second drafts that make Jalen Hurts now all much more valuable than he was in the first one. But he's there at the 112. And then Jalen Reagor, Denzel Mims, Michael Pittman, Henry Ruggs, T. Higgins, Jordan Love, and Keyshawn Vaughn went 1 pick right before us. So now 2.08 here. We have some decisions again: Laviska Shenault, Brandon Ayuk, Zach Moss, Brian Edwards, A.J. Dillon, Antonio Gibson, and Claypool and Hamler are down there as well too. So what are we looking at here for the 2.08?
Real quick, before we make this pick at 208, I think second round 206, that's about appropriate for Jordan Love, right? I mean, a first round quarterback, it doesn't seem like Aaron Rodgers is long for Green Bay. I know a lot of people are like, don't fade Jordan Love based on the Green Bay Packers' incompetence by selecting them at the 26th spot or whenever he was picked. But he was a first-round quarterback, and it looks like Aaron Rodgers probably won't be there for much longer. I just wanted to say I think the second round is probably appropriate for Jordan Love. Don't make the same mistake that Dynasty Leaguers were making last year with Daniel Jones and not wanting to take him because they hated Gettleman and they hated the pick. You know, Daniel Jones was falling to the 3rd round in SUPERFLEX formats last year. Like, don't do that. And I'm not saying that Love is better than Jones or whatever, but he's a first-round quarterback. So I just want to say I think that's more appropriate than Jalen Hurts going 112.
Yeah, I mean, Love is going to have playing time. The Packers are going to have to, kind of
justify the pick,
justify trading up, back into the first, or I guess they were at like 30 or whatever, and they moved up.
Oh, they moved up
for him.
They moved up to get him.
Oh, yeah, they traded up for him.
Oh,
yeah. Yep. Because everybody thought they were trading up for a wide receiver. They thought they were going to try and get into this wide receiver run at the back half of the first, and now they went Jordan Love. And now all the reports are coming out that LaFleur and everybody else is tired of Aaron Rodgers' like shenanigans and stuff like that. So
yeah, I'd take him at 206. I think second round, that's for a first round quarterback. You got to do that. So didn't mean to go off left too much, but right here I am going to do what the Green Bay Packers should have done in the real NFL draft and take a wide receiver. And Addison, I don't know why more people aren't talking about Brandon Ayuk in that second tier of wide receivers. He was a first round pick. He lands on one of the best offenses in the NFL with one of the most creative minds in the NFL in Kyle Shanahan. They lost Marquise Goodwin. We know what George Kittle does. We know Debo's role. Why aren't more people talking about Brandon Ayuk?
It's strange. I honestly don't know. I don't know if people just it's because he wasn't all that high pre-draft, and people think that maybe he was overdrafted. You know, but I saw a report. I don't know if this is true or not, but if that Ayuk was the Niners' top wide receiver on their board. I don't know. I don't know if that was because maybe they thought already that Lamb and Judy would be gone, or if he was actually their number one wide receiver on their board. But you know, he slides in immediately to like the wide receiver 2 role there. I mean, you know, it's Deebo Samuel, it's George Kittle. Those are going to be the 2 main targets, and then after that, man, it's like Kendrick Bourne is like the next, you know, best wide receiver on that roster. And while Bourne is going to have a role like he did last year, look at what Emmanuel Sanders did the back half of the second half of the season last year and through the playoffs. Like he had some games where he wasn't really all there, and that's just, I think, the Niners' system. They want to run the ball, do all that stuff. That's going to happen. But he had spike weeks as well too. And Ayuk slides right into that Emmanuel Sanders' type snap share, overtaking Kendrick Bourne, overtaking you know, I don't even remember who else they have. Jalen Hurd, Dante Pettis, you know, guys like that. They're not going to make an impact. They already had their shot. And it's Ayuk now, first round draft capital. I'm all for it. I'm 100% all for it. I love the pick. Yep. So
agreed.
Sorry, I didn't mean to take your analysis there.
No, that was perfect. Love it, man. Love it.
So Brandon Ayuk, yeah, I don't know why he's not talked about more in terms of up here with Mims. I don't understand Mims over Ayuk. You know, Ruggs and Pittman and Higgins, sure, but he should be up there and not down here.
Right. That's agreed.
Yep. So I thought this draft was going to go basically exactly the same as how the second draft was for the first time, but it's not, because it's interesting because Joshua Kelly here went at the 212 and he was your pick at the 308 last time.
He was. That kind of hurt when I saw that.
So that's really interesting. So AJ Dillon, LaVisca, Brian Edwards, and then Kelly were the rest of the second round. Antonio Gibson, Zach Moss, Chase Claypool, Darrison Evans, Anthony McFarland, KJ Hamler, and Van Jefferson were the top 7 picks in the third round. So right here, I want to see who you take. 3.08. We have Cole Kmet, Devin Duvernay, Tyler Johnson, Antonio Gandy Golden, Eno Benjamin, Adam Troutman, Michael Pirine, Jacob Eason is there as well too. Lynn Bowden, Donovan Peoples-Jones, DJ Dallas, a bunch of all these other names here. So 3.08. I have an idea, but I want to see who you're going with here.
So I'm probably going to throw you for a loop because it probably would be Jacob Eason. I think that would be the smart play, right? But I feel like I've talked about Jacob Eason, no lie, probably like 62 times in the past hour. And I really don't hate this pick. And this player was drafted in the 7th round, damn near undrafted. But I think he landed, if there was a 7th round winner, it would have to be Eno Benjamin. It would have to be Eno Benjamin. Landing in Arizona, Kenyon Drake is still on a 1-year deal. Chase Edmunds, we like him, but we don't really know what he is long term. They know Eno Benjamin. He played his college ball in Arizona. He lands on an offense that utilizes the running back in a pass-catching role. And I believe I heard a stat that Eno Benjamin has run more routes, had more targets, and caught more balls. Like, he's up there with like the Washington State running backs, you know, and I think he's the most heavily targeted running back in this class. Like, the dude can catch the freaking ball out of the backfield. So in that offense with Kyler Murray, with Cliff Kingsbury, and with them having intimate knowledge of Eno, I think he landed in the best spot that a 7th round pick running back could land in. And I don't know if we would have been able to get him at 408. So I'm okay with it here. It might be a tad rich, but I'm not a LaMichael Pirine fan. I'm not an Antonio Gandy Goldie fan. I'm not taking a tight end here in the 3rd. The only other player that I would have taken, which went 2 picks ahead of me, I almost pulled it off, would be Jacob Eason.
So Eno Benjamin is a guy that I don't think I talked about with anybody pre-draft on this show specifically. So this, I think this is the first time we're talking about him just in general. So it's nice to know at least landing spot now. Like you said, Arizona Cardinals hometown team because he went to Arizona State. I don't know enough about him, and I don't know if I know enough about him to take him in the 3rd round here either. But like you said, a lot of these other players, I think DJ Dallas would have been the only other player that I would have taken over him, but I'm not taking Michael Pirine over him. All these other running backs here, I haven't even heard of these running backs.
Well, and here's the thing. Eno Benjamin is a true sophomore, 300 carries, over 1,600 rushing yards, 35 receptions, 263 receiving yards. And then this past season, little over 250 carries, 1,083 yards, 10 TDs, but he had 42 receptions for 347 and 2, 82 career receptions, almost 3,000 career rushing yards. The dude is dynamic. I mean, he's a very, very good pass catching back. And again, Kenyon Drake isn't on a long-term deal. Chase Edmunds, what do we have there? I think he landed in a premier opportunity, as good a spot as a 7th round pick can land in.
I don't hate it. I'll tell you what, I don't hate it at all, especially whenever I look at all the other players that were drafted after him. You know, I like it a lot. I like the shot. So speaking of shot in the dark here, we're at the 4.08 final pick of this draft. Cole Kmet, AGG, Devin Asiasi. Is that how you pronounce his name?
Yeah,
I've honestly never heard of him
yep,
before.
I've played Devy and I didn't even know who the hell he was. Asiasi.
Perfect. Then that makes me feel so much better. Michael Pirine, Devin Duvernay, Lynn Bowden, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Adam Trotman, DJ Dallas, who we both seem to really like as well too, and we would be looking at for this pick or any 4th round pick. Jacob Eason, and then James Prochet, who I've kind of been coming on to here recently, especially after the draft too. But 4.08, Tyler Johnson, Jake Fromm, Albert O, Quintez Cephas, Bryson Hopkins, Gabriel Davis, the Bryants, Colin Johnson, you know, a bunch of other these quarterbacks, Thaddeus Moss, KJ Hill, Isaiah Hodgins. A lot of these dart throws here. Where are we looking at for the 4.08?
Yeah, I think Tyler Johnson's the pick. And I think that's an easy pick. Tampa Bay, Tom Brady, Bruce Arians. I think he's got a shot to carve out a role as a number 3 wide receiver for him. So I like Tyler Johnson here at the end of the 4th, and that's appropriate. So I'll go with it.
When did he get drafted?
5th.
What round was it?
5th
round?
Yep.
That is so strange, dude.
Day 3, like predicted by moi.
That is so weird to me that Tyler Johnson being one of the best wide receivers in college football, and then just totally his whole stock just plummets.
But he wasn't though.
He
wasn't. I mean, statistically, yeah, the analytics were there, but he wasn't even the best wide receiver on his team last year. Wasn't the best wide receiver on his team last year.
I agree with that as well too.
I mean, but he lands in Tampa Bay. They want to spread it out. I think he's better than Scott Miller. I think he's better than Justin Watson. And, you know, hey, 5th round, you're getting a 5th round pick that has some talent, that knows how to play the position. You're getting him at the middle of the 4th round. You could do a hell of a lot worse than that. And the players who went out, I wasn't taking Jake Fromm. I'm sorry. I wasn't doing it.
Gross.
The tight ends, I'll take a tight end off the waiver or wait till 2021 and get Kyle Pitts or Freiermuth or Brevin Jordan. So, yeah, I think this is appropriate for him.
Yeah, I mean, I love Tyler Johnson coming into this year, so it just really pains me to see him down here this far.
Y'all got to let it go. Y'all got to let that go, man.
I'm sorry,
and everyone else, y'all got to let it go. You got to let it go. The NFL evaluators told us everything we needed to know about him right after the season was over, and people wanted to ignore the tea leaves and all of that stuff. But here we are, 3rd round pick, day 3 pick, 5th round. Get him at the 4th. I still think that's good. I think it's a hell of a landing spot for him.
Yeah. And especially when a lot of people think about the depth chart, when you look at, man, you're like, man, he went to Tampa Bay. He's behind Mike Evans. He's behind Chris Godwin, blah, 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 blah. You know, then there's also OJ Howard there that needs fed. Gronk just got traded there, everything like that. But I think there's a role there for him where we know that Chris Godwin and Bruce Arians specifically want Godwin to run out of the slot, right? So if you're thinking that Mike Evans is on one side, Tyler Johnson's on the other, they got Chris Godwin in the slot, you got your one-pick tight end here between whoever it is, Keyshawn Vaughn out of the backfield. I think there's opportunity for Tyler Johnson to kind of, you know, just to grow a little bit in that offense, learn with Tom Brady. similar to how Chris Godwin was 2 years ago when he got drafted by the Buccaneers in the same kind of situation where we had to wait a few years. But if you're waiting on a few years on a 4th round pick, you have a couple years to decide, hey, maybe you don't want him and he's not really anything, or you know, he's gonna actually do something, which I hope he does. I'm not letting it go, Ray. I don't care what you say.
Well,
all righty. So whatever. We don't need to talk about that anymore. It just makes me sad.
We're talking about 4th round rookie picks here, man.
It makes me sad. It's Tyler Johnson in the 4th round. All right. Anyway, that was it for the second draft here. That's it for drafting lessons here. Cam Akers, Brandon Ayuk, Eno Benjamin, and Tyler Johnson out of the 8th spot here in Superflex mock drafts. I know it was funny because we talked about Jacob Eason here is the only quarterback here. I thought maybe Superflex would kind of give us a little bit more quarterback conversation, but there's really not a whole lot to talk about. I mean, Jalen Hurts is the only other interesting guy I think in this class outside of Burrow and Tua, you know, as the top 2 guys. Herbert's just kind of there as well too. He'll be fine. But it's Hurts, and then we talked about Jacob Eason, so there's not really much more to say there. So I'm going to give you the time now, Ray. Thank you so much for hopping on and doing this for the second time. So I'm gonna give you the opportunity to go ahead and plug away, talk about any projects, Destination Devy, anything else that you want to talk about. Go ahead.
Yeah, I appreciate you for having me on, Addison. Really enjoy these, and it helps me kind of hone my skills and get ready for upcoming rookie drafts. So I hope you guys out there found some value in the show, value in the commentary. You can find me on Twitter at RayGQ. Check out the Destination Devy YouTube channel, doing a lot of cool stuff over there, breaking down players, film posted up, things like that. You know, I really want to entertain the people while providing some actionable content. But really, really excited for what's coming next to the DLF YouTube channel. And we are going to really start diving in hardcore with the film study breakdowns, with everything going on with COVID-19. We know there's no OTAs, no mini camp, and training camp probably isn't going to happen. So you need to figure out how these players fit into their offensive situations. So in these upcoming film study sessions, instead of talking about hypotheticals, we're really going to hone in on that player skill set and how it fits their current NFL team. And I think you guys will get a lot of value out of that. I'll be hosting that with a guest, by myself, with the whole world. Doesn't matter. Probably will stream those depending on what we plan to do. But I hope you guys subscribe to Destination Devy as well as the DLF YouTube channel, because we've got a lot of good stuff coming, and we just want to help you dominate your Dynasty League. So appreciate you having me on, Addison, and I appreciate you guys tuning in.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys need to check out Destination Devy. Ray is hilarious, and like you said, we need to get that Hotcakes and Henny T-shirt out. That keeps reminding me every time I talk to you. Yeah, we need to get that out. So I need to get on Ken's butt about that to get that store up. So that'll be there. But yeah, Destination Devy, that's the place. That's your creative outlet to let out everything that you got to say, and it's absolutely hilarious. I love everything. Unless until you have Pat Fryermuth as your 2021 tight end one, then I guess I'll like 99% of the stuff you say. But other than that, thank you guys so much for tuning in. And like Ray said, please subscribe to the channel if you're not already. We have a lot of fantastic stuff that we're dropping every single week that we're going to continue to work on and fine tune. Ray mentioned the rookie film study stuff that's going to be coming back now, looking at players, these rookies with their landing spots now that we know them. Last week, Ryan McDowell and Dan Myler dropped the ADP show. They were talking about the brand new post-draft rookie ADP for one quarterback leagues. And I think they touched on Superflex a little as well too, but specifically one quarterback, and that's going to be a weekly show as well now too, as well as more drafting lessons, more DLF mailbags, some one-off stuff, more rookie drafts we got in the works right now too. So a lot of content coming your way from the DLF YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe, hit that notifications button to be notified every single time that a video drops before we post it to Twitter or Facebook. You're already notified. You're already watching the video. Like the video. Leave a comment down below if you agree with any of the picks that Ray made, disagree with any of the picks that Ray made, anything like that. Just drop a comment down below or ask questions as well too. We're always open to helping you guys out with your rookie mock drafts or dynasties, whatever you got questions going on. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will catch you guys later. See ya.